It's time for today's travel and cruise industry news. With the latest from travel and cruises around the world, here's your host, Chilliefalls.
Hey, good morning and welcome to Travel and Cruise Industry Podcast on this, the 15th day of August. Wow, half a month gone completely. Unbelievable. Coming to you from my studio in Forest, Virginia, right outside of Lynchburg. Brought to you by Will U.S., the owner of Scoot Around, and by chilliescruises. We've got quite a few things to cover today, plus a little bit of personal news. Just to give you an idea of what's ahead on today's show, the lead story this morning is passenger rescued after Pier fall at CocoCay. Also this morning, Bar Harbor Cap survives appeal. Holland American line unveils Koningstafel. My tongue doesn't want to say that one. Symphony of the Seas to depart early August 17th due to military exercise. For the third time, a glass panel shatters on a Royal Caribbean ship. Air Canada begins canceling flights this morning on an upcoming strike. We got some rough weather ahead. And there was also some rough weather, but not of the hurricane variety, that kept one of our ships, the Norwegian Star, from landing in Nuuk, Greenland. And finally, this morning, Riot police dispersed wow. Come on, tongue. Riot police dispersed pro-Palestinian protests and lots more here at 11 o'clock this morning. All right, so yesterday afternoon, I had to go for the big lung test, as opposed to the little lung test that I take all the time. And I tell you what, folks, it about knocked me on my butt. And I didn't do anything. I sit there and breathe. But I had to take like 4, 8, 9, 10 different tests. So I'm in my chair, my wheelchair, and they roll this machine up kind of between my legs, and it had a breathing apparatus. So all I had to do was just lean forward and lock my lips around this thing. And it's a series of different breathing beforehand, and then you've got to exhale all the way you can, and then you got to suck in all the way you can, and all this stuff is measured and monitored. But you have to do it to the extent, especially on the exhale portion, where you literally you're right at the edge of passing out. Twice yesterday, and I loved Tina to death. She was so much fun. But twice she had to literally reach over and grab my shoulder, not grab it, but just put a hand on my shoulder to keep me from hitting the floor. It was tough. Now, then you couple that with the fact that I'm out there loading and unloading the chair, and it was hot and humid. Oh my goodness. So I had a couple of things I wanted to do coming home. Go get my glasses fixed. I've got a lens that's fallen out, and set up an appointment for the next go around with glasses. I thought, well, I could get a haircut while I'm out, and I had to fill the gas tank up. I didn't do a damn thing, folks. I came straight home. I didn't even unload the chair yesterday. I parked at the front door so I could get into the living room and sit down until I got my breath back. And then I could make it to my room and sit down, and that's it. I was done. Done for the day. So I I think it's Tuesday afternoon to get the results and all this. Now, if you recall, folks, all this testing with pulmonary is just to see if I'm even a candidate for this new valve thing. So, I don't know. It's over my head, but I mean, they just don't give you one. You have to prove that you need it or so. I don't know. The only other thing they can do to make my breathing situation better is a lung transplant, and I'm already ruled out for that. So this is the only hope of me ever getting any better. And I'm not sure that I even qualify for it. So that's what all this was about. So we'll see what happens. I will say a happy Friday to everybody. Uh, we got a couple interesting things to do before I get to the news. One, let's go ahead and talk about the weather and get the weather out of the way. This, of course, is the Atlantic. There's absolutely nothing in the Pacific now, folks, which is kind of nice. But this is the Atlantic Basin. Now, if you look over right off the coast of southern Texas, that's a shower and thunderstorm activity that's persisted in association with a disturbance located about 75 miles off the coast of northeastern Mexico, southern Texas coastline. The system could become a short-lived tropical depression before it moves inland this afternoon or evening. Regardless of development, locally heavy rainfall is possible along portions of the northeastern Mexico and southern Texas over the next couple of days. Interests there should monitor the progress of the system. Another Air Force Reserve Hurricane Hunter aircraft is scheduled to investigate the system sometime this morning. Right now, they're calling it a development of 50% chance in the next 48 hours, 50% chance in the next 7 days. Then we get to Hurricane Erin, and it has just become a hurricane. As a matter of fact, when I put this up an hour ago, it had not become a hurricane. It had gotten up to 70 miles an hour. So we were expecting it anytime. Well, it is now a hurricane, 75 miles an hour. The pressure is down to 996. She's moving west-northwest at 18 miles an hour. The heavy rainfall across the northernmost Leeward Islands, the U.S. British Virgin Islands, as well as southern and eastern Puerto Rico, may lead to isolated flash and urban flooding along the also with landslides and mudslides this weekend and into early next week. The hurricane conditions are possible for portions of the northern Leeward Islands where tropical storm watches are in effect. And that's going to go through the weekend. Now, we still don't know 100% on what the direction is going to be, but it appears at least that she's going to start moving away from the islands and the East Coast. Going to soak to the north. It's probably going to go in between Bermuda and the coast. Is my guess of the path. It's going to stay, I believe, north of the Leewards, north of Puerto Rico, north of all the islands. And by the time it gets to the Bahamas, it's going to be east of the Bahamas. But keep in mind, folks, the backside of this is going to throw tons of rain, heavy surf, undertows, and you're going to feel that anywhere in the islands and along the East Coast. So for the next week or so, just be really careful out there, folks, because there is a pretty powerful storm churning. Strength of the storm, it's going to at least, I believe, get to a level 3, possibly a low 4. So we're going to have to watch this for the next 4 or 5 days, guys. But it is now officially a hurricane, our first Atlantic hurricane of the season. And thankfully, I'm not seeing that this is going to be majorly impactful to anywhere. So, but again, folks, that's my reading of the situation. All right, so Hot Air Tom wanted me to point out to Roger that he likes the Tesla. He's got an Icelandic Tesla. I wonder if they make them in Iceland, or if they make them over here and ship them to Iceland. I have no idea. I don't know. Of course, Hot Air Tom's a big electric car guy. I'm not opposed to them. I just, I got my car. I'm going to drive it until I die or it dies. And that's going to happen. And that's an Icelandic sign that says, or something like that. All right, and this is Hot Air Tom out. He's out hiking. He's hiking to the volcano, I think. I don't know. I haven't talked to him. And this is I've got some clips to show you too. This is just a beautiful, beautiful waterfall. I did know the name of the waterfall too, and that's completely gone. Now, he also put some clips up. We showed some pictures yesterday of the hotel room. This is looking out the hotel room where they're doing construction, and everything there's built on volcanic rock. So to get
there's the alarm for the 5-minute to the hour warning. So we have explosives going on, and there it goes, boom, chaka-laka boom, chaka-laka boom, boom. Imagine there's no soil down there, it's all volcanic rock. Can't imagine what the cost is to build a foundation in this country.
All right, I thought that was pretty cool with the the dynamite going off there and how it just drops a little bit down. But however they do it, I mean, they controlled it being messy and smoke and rock and stuff flying everywhere. So more power to them. All right, so this is along the coast. I never know how much time talking on these.
This is the Pingalore National Park. This is where the Continental Divide is. Let's see this split here. We're going to walk down to the left shortly. You can see the split along there. Somewhat beautiful lake. Nice sunny day. It is Wednesday, August the 13th.
All right, so this was yesterday. No, Wednesday, 2 days ago. I just think that waterfall is gorgeous. And it's just cut out of the gorge through all that volcanic rock.
Dilfus Falls.
There it is, Dilfus.
And today's Wednesday, August the 13th, 2025. We got a little bit of rainbow action happening over to the left there.
All right, Tom, thank you for the pictures and clips from Iceland. And folks, I've got to be perfectly honest with you on this one. I'm not a particularly religious person, as most of you know. But when I see something like that waterfall, I mean, that's one of the things where I truly feel my religion. Just the magnificence of what, my God, you can define it any way you want, has created. And it just to me I'm always in awe of things like that. So, Tom, thank you for that. Meanwhile, Bethany was in Reykjavik in the rain. She's got her bumbershoot out. This was pretty cool, I thought. She went into a donut shop. And you see the donut, this is a creme brulee donut. And the girl is hitting it with a blowtorch. All right. We get creme brulee stuff on cruises all the time, and it's got that little coating on top. Well, that's melted sugar. So I guess that's how they melt it, with that little blowtorch. And I'm sure you guys that cook a lot more than I do, there's a name for the blowtorch. And then it comes out like this, which is the melted sugar, which makes it a little crunchy on top of the donut. And of course, then you have to enjoy the donut. Gonna have to get Bethany on here again, because we got a lot of things to cover with her. Good heavens. She always takes a couple trips a year, but she's been really active this year. And that's great. So, but we got to get her on to talk about some of it. All right, I'll be back with today's news, folks, after a quick break from one of our fine network sponsors. Stay tuned. Stay with me. All right, we're going to start the day off. Where are we? Yeah, we're going to start the day off with, from CocoCay.
Guests aboard Royal Caribbean's brand new Star of the Seas got an unexpected scare yesterday when the ship sounded its Oscar, man overboard alarm while docked at Perfect Day at CocoCay in the Bahamas. According to the cruise line, a passenger fell from the pier between Star of the Seas and Symphony of the Seas just after 8 a.m. while trying to capture footage of the massive new vessel. Crew members quickly threw a life ring into the water, which the guest grabbed before being pulled to safety. No injuries have been confirmed. Star of the Seas was visiting CocoCay as part of a preview cruise from Port Canaveral and has since resumed its itinerary.
All right, guys. That's the second time in a week that we've had accidents from people taking damn selfies. We had the two Vietnamese couple died where she fell in the water from taking a selfie, and then he went in after her, and they both died. Now this guy is out there trying to get a selfie with the ship, and I guess got too close to the end of the pier, and he tumbled in. Thankfully, they were quick to the rescue and got him out, and he wasn't in as cold water as the Vietnamese couple. But still, for God's sakes, folks, be careful when you're on the piers and you're out on the edge of a cliff on an excursion. Pay attention to where you are, not to taking the picture. The picture's not of any importance if you're dead. So, I'm just saying. Wow.
Bar Harbor, Maine's controversial daily limit of 1,000 cruise passengers coming ashore will remain in place, following a key federal appeals court decision, though one legal question remains unresolved. On August 11, 2025, the U.S. Court of Appeals for the First Circuit upheld most of a lower court ruling in favor of the ordinance, which was approved by local voters in 2022 to curb congestion in the busy port town and gateway to Acadia National Park. Supporters argue the cap protects residents' quality of life and enhances the visitor experience, while opponents say it risks hurting tourism revenue. The three-judge panel, Chief Judge David Barron, retired U.S. Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer, and Judge William Kayada, agreed Bar Harbor has the authority to enforce the restriction, finding that federal laws on ports, navigation, or immigration do not preempt it. However, the court sent part of the case back to U.S. District Judge Lance Walker to re-examine whether the ordinance places an excessive burden on interstate commerce compared to its benefits for the town. The dispute began in 2022 when residents placed the measure on the ballot, passing it with 58% of the vote. The 1,000-passenger daily limit was scheduled to take effect with the 2024 cruise season, running each year from spring through fall. Would you like to visit Bar Harbor? Email chillie@bookalaska.net. There's still plenty of summer left. Why not make the most of it with a new mobility device? Get out and enjoy the weather with the help of a scooter or electric wheelchair. 13% off on these mobility devices. Wheel Model F Folding Power Chair. Pride Jazzy Carbon Folding Electric Wheelchair. Pride iGo Folding Scooter. Shop online or call Scootaround at 1-844-664-7467. Use SRN 11137. Holland America Line has introduced Koningstafel, Dutch for King's Table, a luxurious reimagining of the chef's table dining experience. Blending behind-the-scenes galley access with an elegant 6-course feast, the experience debuted aboard Amsterdam in July and will roll out to Westerdam, Zaandam, and Volendam this fall, with the rest of the fleet following in spring 2026. Available exclusively on cruises 14 days or longer, Koningstafel begins with a private cocktail reception, followed by an executive chef-led galley tour, and concludes with a refined multi-course dinner featuring wine pairings. Highlights include butter-poached lobster tail, Asian Wagyu steak tartare, herb-roasted lamb loin, and an artisan dessert selection. A vegetarian menu is available upon request. Priced at $149 per person plus gratuities, reservations can be made online before sailing or on board. Koningstafel is more than a meal. It's a celebration of craftsmanship, artistry, and connection, said Michael Stendebach, Holland America Line's Vice President of Food, Beverage, and Rooms Division. The launch of Koningstafel is part of a broader culinary expansion, with upcoming offerings like the Rijstafel dinner, Tiki dinner, and an Indian pop-up menu on select itineraries. If you would like to try Koningstafel, email chillie@bookalaska.net.
All right, guys. So the one thing I have not been able to find out is if the galley tour portion on these ships is accessible. I know on Norwegian it's not, at least the ships that I've been on. I'm assuming it's not on Holland America ships as well, because normally those are, a different floor, and normally there's steps involved. But so if you get on one of the ships and want to check it out, at least know that you're going to get the lovely dinner and the camaraderie and all that, even if you miss out on the galley tour portion, because of your scooter or wheelchair. So, and hopefully I will have an answer on that eventually.
Guests sailing on Symphony of the Seas from Cape Liberty this Sunday will need to arrive earlier than planned. Royal Caribbean has notified passengers that the ship will now depart at 2 p.m. instead of the originally scheduled time, due to a planned military exercise in the port area. Boarding has been moved up 30 minutes across all time slots, with final check-in closing at 1 p.m. and all guests required on board by 1:30 p.m. The cruise line warns that arriving at original, later times could result in missing the ship. While details of the military exercise remain undisclosed, such port activities typically involve emergency response or training drills. If you are interested in a cruise on Symphony of the Seas, email chillie@bookalaska.net. A glass panel shattered aboard Symphony of the Seas for the third time this year. Royal Caribbean has not identified a cause, though guests speculate the damage could be from a golf ball. The panel broke on the sports deck near the zip line, thankfully not shattering onto the boardwalk 10 decks below. While glass breaking on cruise ships is rare, Symphony of the Sea's recent incidents are raising questions among guests. Some suspect vibrations may be a factor, while others wonder if extreme heat is a culprit.
I was on Symphony of the Seas and didn't have any problems, nor did I feel any vibrations. Now, maybe that's something that's developed, after I was on it. But that's the third similar incident of glass shattering on that one ship in the last, couple months. Something is amiss. I'm just not sure what it is.
Star Princess successfully performed a series of sea trials that tested navigation, propulsion, and other key systems. The ship is undergoing final outfitting before being delivered to Princess Cruises from the Fincantieri shipyard. Second in the line's Sphere class, Star Princess is due to enter service on October 4th.
We have the equipment you need to stay mobile. Whether you need a wheelchair, scooter, power chair, rollator, oxygen, or other pieces of mobility equipment, Scootaround, powered by Will, can help. Once you've booked your rental, we can deliver it to wherever you need. For your mobility needs, contact me or call Scootaround at 888-441-7575. Use SRN 11137 for the best rates.
Canada's largest airline began suspending flights on Thursday after the union representing its flight attendants issued a 72-hour strike notice. Air Canada warned passengers without confirmed flights to not go to the airport, as suspensions will continue through that period. The Canadian Union of Public Employees, representing 10,000 Air Canada attendants, provided a strike notice on Wednesday after an impasse in contract talks. It said it has bargained in good faith, but the company refused to address core issues, such as proposals on wages and unpaid work. Cruise passengers aboard Norwegian Star missed out on a planned visit to Nuuk, Greenland, on Thursday, after dangerous weather conditions forced the ship to change course. The 14-night voyage, sailing one way from New York to Reykjavik, Iceland, had scheduled Nuuk as the first of 2 Greenland stops. But as the ship approached the capital on the country's southwest coast, sustained winds of 35 to 40 miles per hour with gusts up to 80 miles per hour and steady rain made it unsafe to dock or tender. Captain's announcements informed guests of the cancellation around 7:30 a.m., shortly after the ship attempted an approach and briefly waited offshore to assess the situation. The decision was unrelated to an earlier overboard incident earlier in the sailing. Instead, Norwegian Star will spend the day at sea with additional onboard activities, aiming to reach Pamia, Greenland on August 15th as planned. Riot police clashed with pro-Palestinian demonstrators in the Greek port city of Volos on Wednesday during the arrival of Crown Iris, an Israeli-operated cruise ship carrying tourists from Israel. Protesters waving large Palestinian flags gathered at the port to condemn Israel's military actions in Gaza as passengers disembarked. Authorities used stun grenades to break up the crowd, though the tourists continued with planned excursions to Mount Pilio and the Meteora monasteries. The demonstration is the latest in a string of protests at Greek ports targeting Israeli-linked cruise ships in recent weeks. After being cleared from the waterfront, activists continued marching through Volo's city center.
Be on one of the first MSC ships to go to Alaska when we sail May 25th, 2026 on the MSC Poesia round trip from Seattle. 7 nights going to Ketchikan, Icy Strait Point, Juneau, and Tracy Arm Fjord, and a stop in Victoria, Canada on the way back to Seattle. Inside cabin start at $849 per person, balcony from $1289 per person. The MSC Poesia going to Alaska. Why not join us? I promise you we'll have a great time. Just call me, 434-258-9264, and we'll cruise with Chillie to Alaska.
All right, that's going to actually put an end to the news portion of today's show. So let's go over and see who's in the chat room fussing at me today. I actually haven't had a chance to even glance at that today. All right, so we've got an X person starting off. Ayula. I'm guessing Ayula. Thanks for being with us. There's Mike on the other side of the pond. Sunny down in Mississippi. Hi, Amy. She says, happy Friday. Thanks, Amy. Gretchen's with us. Mike says, hi to Sunny. A little cooler for me today, but heat ramps up again next week, courtesy of hot air from Spain and France, and from Hot Air Tom. He's over there in Iceland blowing it at you. How are things with you? I'm feeling better today, Mike. Yesterday was rough. A lot rougher than I expected it to be. Todd's with us. Good morning, Todd. Sunny says, now we're dry, dusty, hot, and hotter after the tropical rainy season moved on. Yeah, well, don't get totally bent up about it. Mike says, so is that your normal weather for you at this time of year? He's asking Sonny that. Yeah, this is pretty close to normal here in Virginia, at least. We actually had a kind of a lengthy cold spell that we normally don't get in August, which is now pretty much over. Yesterday was killer hot. I'm expecting it to be hot this weekend, so I'm planning on getting some time out in the pool. I hope, at least. There's Roger down in Jacksonville. Hi, Roger. I was talking about you last night. I was talking about the Ted Williams book. Sonny says, hot and sweaty is normal for the South here in the U.S. I hate it. You are having unusually hot weather, right? Bob's with us. Good morning, everybody. Have a great weekend. Thanks, Bob. I hope you didn't have any damage from the storms when they blew through. Storms and rain and more rain and more rain. And we have very little rain right here. Some around us, there's a lot of flood warnings out. Mike says, may break our record for the hottest August day. Wow. That's always saying something. Sonny says, I feel your pain. Iceland is beautiful. I'm telling you, I'm totally surprised. I mean, I've looked at pictures from Iceland before, but it did more jumping out and grabbing me on these pictures that Tom's taken than anything that I've looked at before, paid attention to before. Yeah, man, I'd like to go there now. I don't know if I could get out to that waterfall, but that was just, I was in awe at that. Gretchen says we're going to be 85, but very dry air, so they said it should be comfortable. Wow, you're lucky. We don't have anything dry down here in Virginia. Gretchen says started out 60 this morning for the dog walk. I don't want it at 60 here. The pool loses too much temperature that way. I want it to stay a little warmer than that. So I like to keep it in the 70s at night. That way it maintains the temperature a whole lot better for me. And I admit, folks, I'm a sissy when it comes to the pool. No doubt about it. The Tina yesterday in the pulmonary office, we talked some about what I do to try to get some exercise again after I get this test out of the way, and we'll see what that means. I might be going back to therapy. I might be going to the Y to try that out. I mean, I've also got to balance, like getting in my pool here. I can get in okay, but man, it's hell to get out. And maybe that's just that I'm not strong enough anymore for my girth. But so there's a possibility that I'm going to go back to pulmonary PT. There's a possibility I'm going to be going to the Y. I don't know. I've got to do something to try to, improve things somehow. It's getting hard now when I can't even go to the bathroom without losing my breath. Mike says humidity is wrong for us too. When I visited Barbados, the temperatures are fine. Katie's with us. Good morning, Katie. Katie's, of course, a working girl again. She's back to working. Sonny says you're lucky, Gretchen. Enjoy these good weather days. Yeah, it makes packing for New England a challenge, though. Well, it's always a bad challenge. Gretchen says, Mike, where in England are you, north or south of London? Some of my ancestors were from Lincolnshire. Katie says, going to feel close to 100 today with high of 96. Wow. It was 94 yesterday here. It was brutally hot. So Gretchen wants to know if your classrooms are air conditioning. Gretchen says, yeah. Katie says, yes. I travel to different schools, so my car gets pretty hot even with a sunshade. Sonny says, Katie, do you have high humidity? Takes a while to cool down, so a bit uncomfortable. Yes, in high 80s with humidity. Same here, lots of humidity, Sonny says. Yeah, I find Mississippi, the times that I've driven through there or stayed there, I find the heat there to be pretty oppressive. But then I find the same thing in a lot of places in Florida too. Katie says she hates it. Gonna turn humid there tomorrow, Gretchen says. There's Kenneth was up in Pennsylvania. Says, sorry I'm late. Amy said, Iceland is a wonderful place with great people. Yeah, and I've heard a lot of people talk a lot of people talk about people, but I was just not counting on the stunning beauty of what I've seen so far. That's great. Mike says Midlands region. Kenneth says you got to start practicing your YMCA song. You get all pumped up for it. In my family, it's horrible, but I have to do it. Yeah. And I don't think they do it the Y here. Sing that stupid song. Of course, they do it on cruise ships. Gretchen says, I'd like to explore Lincolnshire sometime. Yeah, that sounds good. I want to try to cut the grass. I'm bored. Wow. Take it easy in the heat. I don't know if you got heat up there. Sorry, Chillie, that message is for you. I misspelled it. I figured that. That's no problem, Kenneth. I can read between your lines pretty easily. All right, guys, that's going to wrap me up for today. Again, I'm not traveling this weekend, so I'll be here and monitor things. Of course, definitely monitor Hurricane Erin to see how she develops. I've made a couple changes, folks. I'm posting more things on my blog than just for accessibility, because not all my audience is disabled. A lot of you guys are perfectly healthy, even if you are crazy as loons. So that's one thing. The other thing is many of the articles or videos that are long form as opposed to the shorts still have a message, and it's a message for anybody that cruises, including the disabled community. So I'm using the venue a lot more than I have. So, and that's great. My readership obviously is going up because of that. So I will continue on that vein. So there'll be a mixture of videos and articles on there. All right. Okay, guys, that's going to wrap me up for the week. Been a pretty busy week. All right, everybody. Y'all have a wonderful Friday and a terrific weekend. If you're going someplace this weekend, stay safe. Don't do anything silly. Don't fall off a cliff because you're taking a selfie. We don't want to see any more of that. All right, guys, that's going to wrap it up for today. As always, smash that thumbs up button. If you haven't subscribed, please take this as my invitation to join us. We do this at least 3 days a week and sometimes more. We always try to have a good time and try to give you some idea about what's going on in the travel world and the cruise world, literally around the world. All right, guys, as always, stay safe, stay healthy, think about cruising. And hopefully one day soon we'll all get together on the high seas. Have a great Friday and great weekend, everybody. See you next time.
It's time for today's travel and cruise.
I regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, Chillie chats, and travel and cruise industry news, just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, hit the bell notification so you'll be notified when a new video is up or we go live. This video was produced by Chilliescruises.